So Gavin has a strong data science foundation into modern marketing, focusing on where insights turn into execution. Our second speaker, Shubham Gupta, Chief Content Analyst from ThatWare LLP. Can we have a big round of applause for Shubham and have him on the stage? ThatWare are the presenting sponsor with the 7 DMAT CONFEX. So can we have a big round of applause for Shubham, and he has a decade of experiencing analyzing content from various NLP angles to drive high level of semantic score. Our next speaker and panelist coming up, Leonid, Malysh, Director of Data and Insights from Xsolla. Can we have a big round of applause for Leonid? So Leonid is a Director of Data and specializing in data-driven growth, marketing analytics, and product strategy. Our next speaker coming up, Nikhil Kumar Pradhan. He's a digital marketing manager from East West Seed. Can we have a big round of applause for him? They are one of our distinguished partners with the 7 DMAT. He's having a 10 years plus of experience, more than that, at the intersection of data, content, and on-ground execution. And the moderator of the session, Salihah, Head of Marketing and Digital from Dominos Global Services. Can we have a big round of applause for Selena? Selena brings about 18 years of experience at the intersection of marketing and digital transformation. So, over to you, Selena.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I think that was a very, very touching session that we had from Anjali. Thank you very much. I think one key takeaway I really got from that is with all the automation in artificial intelligence, you still need humans to have the strong craft to be able to guide, the automation of intelligence the right way. And we're so lucky today that we have so many great, people, amazing people in their crafts who really know their crafts to actually share with us a little bit about their experience. And hopefully we can, get a lot of takeaways and learning this morning before we head up to tea. Okay, so I know I'm stopping you guys from having good tea time, but I will try my best to see at least you can learn and take away something from today. Okay, so I think today, we talk about human emotions, we talk about connectivity. I think to build trust is not easy, especially in this digital world. There's so many touch points that we have to touch customer. There's so many, there's expectation of being available at every touch point and being consistent at every touch point. So it becomes very imperative for us to have a good omni-channel strategy, right? And I think in the last decade, we talk about omni-channel a lot, right? But we talk about clicks, we talk about conversions, right? But I think today we want to talk about trust and connection and how difficult it is to earn that trust, right? So today I think we have really great panel from different industries, and I think it'd be quite interesting for you guys to get an insights from different ways they would, run this omni-channel strategy or having great trust in their customers, right? So I think some of the things I want to frame up is, we no longer talk about channels, right? Channels is given, right? You are expected to be at almost every channel, right? But how do you maintain coherence across those channels? Customers no longer think in funnels. There's no more that straight one-line funnel that, start from acquisition to consideration to conversion and then reactivation and so on, right? Now customers are everywhere. And, you kind of expect that transactions to happen within microseconds from the time they make that first discovery, right? And then, sorry, my phone keep turning off. I don't know why. And I think in that sense, right, brands are not on reach anymore. It's really about building that connectivity, building that trust, and I guess also consistency in terms of delivering the experience, right? So maybe I just want to start a little bit with a warm-up, right? Just a bit of ice-breaking across all of us. In one or two sentences, please keep it short because we have a long list of questions to go through today. What does omni-channel actually mean for you and your business, say today, versus say 3 to 5 years ago? What has changed?
Hello, testing. Hi, everyone. So I think in the past 3 to 5 years, when we first approached omnichannel, it's more about speaking the same messaging, language, tonality across different channels. But now with AI, with like a lot of integrations, tools, advancement, it's more about memory. Like how do we connect from one channel to another? Like just a simple example, like let's say I already acquired a users to order my card, then my in-app prompt shouldn't be cross-selling them things related to card. It's the memory across channels. That's my take about it.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So for me, I think because I'm in agriculture, this is something very new to digital world. 3 to 5 years back, Omnichannel never even existed from an Indian perspective. So now we're talking about identity, understanding the right touch points. The customers' expectations have changed. They really want things to be personalized, understand what cycle they're in, and how the brand can help us. So at the end of the day, Omnichannel is consolidating the right information and then pass a message that actually goes to them in a form of solution, not in terms of products. So that is how we are looking at it right now. So AI is playing a big part in consolidating and getting the right insights. So it's more than the digital presence. Now what we're looking at is how we can dig that information and find the right gap that we can fill from the brand's end.
Leonid?
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, for me and from my industry where I work, maybe 5 years plus, it was about just let's launch all the channels we know. 5 years plus. 3 to 5 years, it was about optimization. So what is the best channel? What is the cost of this channel? What we can use more? And the stuff like this about analytics and data and ROI and how many money we can spend in different channels. But right now, I guess it's about the thing like, what is the best way to communicate with your customer, future customer, current customer? What is the messaging and what is the time for this usage? And with the help of AI, we can do it much faster. We can load out to make this happen very fast and the same time if you want. So yeah, I guess this is the 3 approach from my side.
Nice.
Thank you.
And hello everyone. So I think like Gavin said that previously omnichannel marketing was more about like how many platforms you are present over there, but now it's more streamlined, like how many users you are addressing irrespective of whatever platform you are. Like you are actually creating a much smoother experience and much smoother and streamlining everything, every process of a user. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think I got things like streamlining, closing the gap, smoother experience, building connection, right? And I think when we look at corporates today, that's not an easy fit, right? Because you would have different people from different areas and departments, working on their own thing, trying to create this wonderful thing on their own without really having a lot of coherence. I mean, there's a lot of challenge, I think, in companies today on how do you get everybody from different departments, because it's not just marketing, right? Your product has to deliver, your operations have to be tip-top, your customer service have to say the right thing. So, it's kind of difficult to get everybody to be on the same boat, right? So I guess it goes to my next question. Maybe we can start with Gavin, because I think, in your very performance-driven environment, right? And I think digital bank is a big buzzword today. What is the one biggest thing that you feel consistently breaks the execution in your organization? And how do you then balance sort of like a short-term acquisition targets, which I'm sure you have, being growth and all, and building a connected long-term customer journey, right? Because digital bank is not about short-term purchase, it's a long-term relationship between you and customer.
Yep. So first of all, I'm from Right Bank. So if you guys don't know about Right Bank, we are a new digital bank launched back in August last year. So within 7 months, I think we just hit our 1.2 million customers. So what I'm trying to say is, when we talk about omni-channel, some of the challenges, people might think it's like tooling, we don't have enough budget to procure a lot of MarTech stacks. That could be one of the real life challenges, but I think fundamentally it's about aligning on the KPIs across teams, because within the marketing team, you have brand team, you have lifecycle team, you have acquisition team. Everyone is kind of like optimizing towards a different metrics. Let's say the acquisition team, they just want to acquire signups. Whereas the lifecycle team, they are optimizing for day 30 kind of retention and all. But with this kind of misalignment across metrics without a North Star metric, sometimes it's very hard to kind of like bring the company forward to one end goal. So I think that is one of the reasons that could potentially break Omnichannel, which we are still currently trying to address. And on your second question, in terms of how do we balance between short-term acquisition and long-term kind of connectivity, I think first of all, again, back to what I mentioned earlier, we need to have a North Star metrics. Like instead of just looking at account creation, we optimize for monthly active transacting users, for example. We optimize for the first 14 days transaction. Then for marketing team, we are not only, our goal is not only to acquire new signups, it's to make sure that the signups within the first 7 or 14 days, they actually make meaningful transactions with the bank. Yeah, I think that setting up a North Star metrics help to kind of like make sure the quality of users that we acquire as we grow, it will translate into long-term value. Yeah. And another thing that I think most of the banks or traditional businesses, when we try to acquire customers with agency partners and all, we always pay for cost per lead, cost per acquisition. Then there's a disjointed or misalignment between the partner agency side with the business, because they only focus on getting as many signups as possible. But if we can go another layer deeper to renegotiate a different kind of mechanism with the partners, like for example, we want our partners, we only pay for meaningful acquisition. In our definition, maybe when they come in, they activate and make their first transaction, then we pay a certain amount to partners. That will also help to kind of like plan for better growth. Yeah.
Nice. So I like what you say about having a North Star. I think that's very critical, I think, in an organization to have a consistent matrix that everyone is looking at, right? And like you mentioned, I think partnership with your agencies and partners are very important to make sure they're also in the same alignment towards your North Star, right? But I guess that brings us to like quality of data, right? And also attribution, because if you can't get the proper data and attribution to guide everyone's North Star, then it's a fake North Star, right? So then I'll just want to pass this to Leonid, right? Because you're in gaming. So from a data attribution standpoint, how close do you think that we can actually get like a accurate, and also that we are able to connect sort of customers' journey across platforms, so that everybody maintain a seamless experience and I guess a correct experience or a correct data that they get back, right? And I want to add a bit more that because you're from a gaming ecosystem, right? So users are very highly engaged, right? And a lot of users are already engaged, and with AI and automation, right, evolving very rapidly. Like, do you think it's because, like Gavin said, it's not a tool problem? Do you think it is not a tool problem, like not a technology problem, or do you think it's more of a strategy problem today?
Okay, I'll start with the first question. I guess we are closer than we were previously, but the work isn't done right now yet, because a lot of stuff happens not on the platforms, but also with the regulation, governments, some policies with the users, GDPR and all the stuff like this one. Also, we can say, thank you Google and Apple that make IDFA in 2021. So this was like a crucial things in 4 years ago, 5 years ago, because the attribution model just it didn't work like it was previously. So 5 years later, yeah, a lot of companies and a lot of instruments right now we have that can help us with these black boxes, with the market attribution, all the revenue attribution and ROI, LTV and CAC. So right now it's much more better, but we see a lot of black points, black boxes, and I guess we cannot be here 100% aligned, not aligned, 100% truth, because the ideal world is doesn't here, and it won't be later. So my suggestion here, and as we work at our company and when I make consulting for other guys, just to be clear with you with your outcomes, with your objective and the goal you are going to solve, the problems we are going to solve. So after that, so please the strategy, the real problem strategy, and then make like execution about this one. So there are a lot of problems there. Data foundation, data attribution, analytics attribution, and also the real outcomes, the metrics that we measure. Because there are a lot of vanity metrics like it was told before, because we really need a North Star metric that can help us to drive our business, our product forward, forward, and forward. And if we make a lie for ourselves, we should be here also open-minded and say, yes, this is not the truth. We can rely on this data, but not 100%. What does it mean in reality? It means that sometimes your answer to different questions and the resolution to any problems are not 100% true. And you need to understand and you need to make a decomposition of different metrics, not to the low fruits on the ground. You can go just up for this title. I work not on the gaming, it's mostly fintech, so we're like a fintech company for gaming, and our customers in gaming, in the apps, yes, the attribution model in the apps are much more easier than on the web at one point, but when we talk about the acquisition, it's easier to, you know, the split that previously all the companies tried to send their new users to the apps. Right now, they switch this approach and they try to figure out and to push the customers, users, gamers, doesn't mean to the web, and starting their onboarding flow there, because they can collect their data, and if they collect their data, because Apple and Google doesn't give it, they can make a web funnels and then send these users to download your apps. So a lot of approach right now here, a lot of help with the AI at the same time, AI tools that can be built internally or not. So yeah, I guess this is like an open question, but yeah, but we are much more closer.
Nice. So I think in that sense, we kind of have to get the strategy right first, like really understanding what we want to achieve and kind of stick through it and execute before, and technology can just come in to solve the situation, right? I think that's
yeah, this is absolutely true. I love the framework at Facebook. So understand, identify, then execute. Not just identify 10% and then 90% execution. This, you should invest 50% of your time to understand, then identify, and then only execute, not in the other way. Because I see a lot of time, we need to measure this, metric, let's make execution. No, let's start with the first why, and then define, then execute.
Nice, but I'm not sure whether Gavin would agree on the moving the customers to web to get their data. I don't think he would be very agreeable to that. Okay, so maybe then, in a digital world, I think it's a bit easy to attribute and get data and understand customers' behavior, right? But I think when you have a little bit of offline customers, right? Your customers, Nikhil, for example, are not always online, right? So in your opinion, what does omnichannel actually really look like? Because I think for you, especially among all of us, probably have the most experience of a real omnichannel, right? And like, how do you bridge the offline versus online gap?
Yeah, so I will answer the first question. I would say almost 85% of our customers still buy traditional channels. They're not buying online. So one of the most difficult, or I should say nightmare for a digital marketer is not able to produce the ROI or the measurable insights to your management. But at the same time, you have to rediscover your signals. That is very important for something like agriculture. With East West Seed, we are selling to over 5 different continents, right? And so about 23 million farmers were buying vegetable seeds. It is a noble ask to start with. At the same time, you also have to look at seed is not a product to them. It's a livelihood. So the factors that impact before they purchase, it's all about the information, the solutions, before they make an informed choice. So the omnichannel starts with that. YouTube is for a longer format category. They will go into the processes, how the seed companies are basically helping them, or what kind of seeds are going to work. We talk about food security and climate change. These are the big terms, but we deal with it every day. So, and that's a real challenge. Before I joined farming, I thought these are just big terms, but climate change is something that they are wanting to understand from YouTube. Cyclical changes are something they're asking questions to us in our Facebooks and Instagram. They're using WhatsApp to understand from community. So all the channels have different objectives. So, which is why we're really looking at how to consolidate that information, employ some social listening tools to understand what is going on. I would say the selling the product would come at the very fag end of it and can't even sell the product. If it is only if the external and internal factors support, then you can go ahead and tell them this is the right product to buy. And the traditional channels also play a huge part because you have your distributors, you have your dealers working on the ground. They have to also agree what the message that we are selling. If it is not on the same page, if you're talking about selling tomato seeds in summer, for example, which is not the case, then it will not work. So you have to be consistent with what is going on. And just to talk about the diversity also, just within India, we have 16 different climatic zones. So when I say climatic zones, it is all about 16 different countries to operate in, right? Because one seed that works in A will not work in C. So that is where, again, Omnichannel works really good because this is where we collect information, understand how it behaves over there. When we talk about northern part of the India, it could be snowing, while when you come down south, which is connected to the oceans, they are very hot and humid. So it's different climates altogether. So you just have to understand how do you personalize using the Omnichannel. And the same has to be there with your stakeholders, right? When I say stakeholders, it is your employees were on ground. We also have to go in tandem with what you are communicating from digital. They also have to subscribe with the tools that you have employed. The same tools farmer also has to use and agree to. And the dealers and distributors who are on ground, they also have to play. So it's a 360-degree approach. For Omnichannel, to me, is 15% digital, 85% to integrate the other stakeholders who are really buying what you're selling in terms of information. If all those things are set at the right place, then I think the product sells by on its own. So that is what we have looked at over the last 4 or 5 years. And that is also something probably answers the question that how we bridge online and offline. So offline is again the major part of our business. But without digital, we don't know how to scale it. Because I'm talking about 500 million farmers who are in India, and probably almost close to 1 billion of farmers operating throughout the world. So it is impossible to scale your information without using channels that they are present. But at the same time, you also have to consolidate, funnel it to the right tools, right data insights, then convert it into a measurable action. As I agree what you said, because you have to define your goals first. I think that is also what we are looking at. If you are not sure about what you are going for, that 50% has to be there. The another 50% will fall into the place because I've already defined the right places to go, right work to do.
Firstly, thank you for supporting our growth of vegetables and plants so we all can continue having a very healthy lifestyle. I understand your pain. I don't think it's very easy to connect. I would say like farmers, right? Because they rely a lot on word of mouth, a lot of recommendations before they proceed. Because they will see, this person is growing well. Why is mine not growing as well, right? So I think a lot of information is disseminated that way, which I think brings us to the next context, right? I mean, I think as marketers, we talk a lot about influencing word of mouth, how is information or recommendations being shared. And I think in the last maybe 5 years, we talk about how influencers are actually influencing the purchasers, right? And brands, we have no choice but to work with influencers. But I think in the recent 1 year or 1 year and a half, it has changed to what we call a creator economy, right? It's no longer about influencing. It's about how influencers can now generate transactions for brands, right? How they can actually help us, actually support us in doing commerce, right? And I think, a lot of times when we talk about creator and influencer, it's always for brand like this, right? There's always information about how do you define ROI? How do you find achievement? And influencers will sometimes ask you, okay, I will get paid for like 500 ringgit per post, or 3,000 ringgit for a picture, or 10,000 ringgit for a live commerce session. But how do you really measure the impact of that ROI, right? So maybe I'll start with Shubham a bit. on this, right? Now we have AI, we have tracking. Technically, things should be easier to track because we have super advanced analytics now, right? In your opinion, what are we still missing in measuring like a real true influencer ROI or content creator ROI? And are we actually trying to overcomplicate measurements, or is just reach the best way to measure this?
Yeah, so I think one conception that people have, mostly big brands that do, is like they go for likes or the number of views, or let's say like quick sales that they can get from a very famous influencer. But the thing is, for example, I invest in a big influencer and I get like a millions of like, but turns out that my sales actually they don't convert so well. And in terms of a small influencer, he might get 2K likes, and at the end of the day, he might get 2K. He might be able to gain that brand 2K potential customers. So the thing is, instead of going after the likes and the views, I think what actual influencer ROI is for me, I think is how much how much that influencer has been able to portray your brand, make your brand stand out, or build the trust among the customers regarding your brand. So that I think is what a real ROI is. Like how much effort or how much information is providing that can potential and make a online visitor become a you can say a potential customer for your brand. Yeah.
So I like about how you say on how much can the influencer actually bring credibility to your brand, right? So I kind of just want to divert this to Gavin, right? Because you're a bank, right? So credibility and trust is super important, right? So for you especially, I'm sure you use influencers in the past, right? Like how do you evaluate whether, give us some, you're very good at metrics, so give us some metrics on how do you evaluate whether these influencers are working or not for your brand and credibility?
Because we are a new bank, so I think it depends on the type of influencers that we engage will tie to a different objective. For example, let's say, a bank, we need to gauge the balance between being too lifestyle and trust, right? So when we first launch, we will engage with different lifestyle influencers. Then the metrics there is for brand awareness. It's very clear. These influencers are not going to bring in transactional values. But I want to dive deeper into the framework that we recently established when selecting financial influencers, because in Malaysia, we also have policies for the financial influencers to be responsible for what content they are creating, right? So I think from the bank perspective, when we look for influencers, is the kind of behavioral trust signal. We'll look at what are they actually sharing, what's their financial literacy, what kind of organic posts that they are sharing versus the paid brand deals. And I kind of like conclude this with three R's. One is relevance, whether that influencers will study their audience, whether the audiences are relevant to what we are trying to serve financially. Then secondly is on their responsibility, like how responsible are they with their content. And lastly, which is something that is most important for a bank, is the risk. Like, are there any risks by engaging with these influencers? What's their any controversy happening to the influencers? So these are some of these are the three key guidelines that I would use to engage with influencers. But sometimes it also depends on the brief that we provide to the influencers, because I have a very interesting experience when we first launched, because Right Bank, we launched with 4% paid daily interest. So with we'll provide brief to influencers. When they kind of like create content, everything seems all right, following the messaging and all, the brand guidelines. But some influencers, they'll get a lot of comments from the audiences, right? And that will eventually translate into our support ticket, our call center will receive a lot of calls regarding the influencers post. So I think these are some of the things that we also need to take into account when we try to measure ROI or cost. I mean, the operational cost to handle those inquiries is also some of the things that need to be factored in, and also like how do we ensure that whatever content that the influencers produce not only tie back to the whatever messaging, whatever USP that we are trying to sell, and we need to ask that question whether from a customer's or audience's point of view, whether that is breaking trust or whether that will cause any like different perceptions from the audience. Yeah.
Well, firstly, thank you for the 4%. I actually definitely really enjoy my daily interest. Thank you so much. But I don't know whether it's a bad thing that customers are very engaged with your influencers and that they actually write in to find out, like was that a bad experience or is that something actually kind of expected to happen?
No, I think sometimes it's too good to be true that maybe when we say, oh, it's a bank that pay 4% daily interest, maybe the customers got confused. The interest is paid daily 4%. But in fact, it's like a 4% per annum paid daily. Those kind of like gray area that will cause some confusion for the customers. Yeah.
Got you. So more like sort of like making sure when influencers actually talk about it, they really understand what they're talking about, right? Well, I guess in that sense, right, maybe I just want a little bit of a debate between maybe Leonid and Nikhil, for example. So based on what he said, right, that there are a lot of costs involved in using influencers, right? Not just paying them for the post, but also the aftermath of that, right? That means, you could have people coming, there could be a backlash and all that, right? Do you agree or disagree that influencer marketing today is overpaid and undermeasured?
Okay, thank you for this great question. I guess we can answer yes and unpaid, at the same time paid. So general, I don't know, the right answer. Not me, I mean all the companies, all the brands, because there are a lot of cohorts of users of, I know, the businesses that can be paid or unpaid. So it's the same like in a hospital. You ask what the average temperature is, 36.6, but why your hospital is fully booked? Because your average temperature, your metric is 36.6, everything is fine. Why so many guys in your hospital is overbooked? Why? Because some guys have 40, some guys have 35, and other guys 36.6, and just happens they have a problem with stomach, I don't know, or other stuff. So yeah, continue. Okay, thanks. If we continue, I want to say that when we talk about paid or unpaid, a lot of firms and brands count it like an absolute number. For example, for me, 1,000K for one lead or for one action that are in our funnel is a high. Looks like high. For somebody, 10,000, it's a low fruit. It's not expensive. I can buy leads or actions for this cost. So this is the perspective when we should calculate a ROI. LTV from your new users, how many ringgits or USD you collect, you earn from them, and how many you spend for them, just CPA. If this economics is fine, like LTV more than 3.x, just your CPA, this is fine. You can bought any influencer for $1 million, doesn't matter. But if this channel has positive ROI. And the second perspective, if I talked about this previously, that you should be very clear with your objective and goals, because the current culture between influencers and brands are sometimes looking like it's the donations for influencers. You should pay for impressions, and I don't want to speak to you. I have 1 million followers. You pay for impressions. But for brands, based on analytics and insights, this is mostly like a donation. You just invest this money. If you have money, no problem. And you're clear with your objective here, it's fine. But if you count your money, you have a clear objective, you should pay them for really conversion rates for some, I don't know, PDF, download ebooks, sign-ups, or other stuff. And after that, you should collect the revenue, how many profit you generate, like LTV. And then compare these two amounts, CPA and LTV, and you can make a right decision. But I do love the point that Gavin shared previously. When you put like a donation for an influencer, you can collect the quantity data, but at the same time, a qualitative data. Qualitative data nowadays costs a lot, because when your customers, new customers, current customers leave the comments, this is a really crucial thing about your qualitative data. And in the era and the day of AI, you can collect all these answers, all these comments, like in your internal database when your customer success manager or product teams and marketing team can validate this and can make a real action for this. So, yeah, there is no right answer for this question. It depends on your objective, and you need to be very clear and be very honest with you, your company, and your goals.
Nice. So you neither agree or disagree, right?
Yeah, in the middle. Because if I, for example, will work in the company like Facebook or Meta, I mean, I know that Meta build, like workspace. It's like similar, like HiBob is the HR system internally. And they put a lot of money in marketing just overall. And they doesn't count all the channels inside. Because overall, they make them this economic in a plus way. So, but if you're a small mid company, you need to count each ringgit, each USD, or any currency.
No, thank you, thank you. Nikhil, what's your opinion?
My answer is both yes and no.
Wow, you guys are on the same page.
So
Why do you agree and disagree?
Yeah, so first I'm agreeing to it because a lot of influencer marketing that I see these days, even apart from where I'm working, it is being overused without having the right strategy. So the attribution is not there. So we make goals that we're not very sure about. Most of the competitors or the industry friends I spoke to, they said we used it because everybody else is doing it. So it was a quick hop decision, which is why it is probably not working. And also the right indicators are not there. It is fairly new. We knew that for the other digital channels that we have used over the last 10, 15 years, there is a perceived strategy or the right signals or the indicators to look at, or which ROI part are we looking at, the CPCs, are we looking at the number of leads or acquisition costs. But in this case, it is fairly new. I think it has slightly evolved from the affiliate that we used to have, but it's somewhere in between. So I think that is why I feel it probably gets overfed for a lot of industries. But I think from where I had piloted it last year, we did it in agriculture. For us, the biggest pain point was the trust deficit, especially when we go to the emerging markets. Because then the point is whether are you trying to sell using the influencers, or are you creating more awareness and then push your narrative, right? Because then you have to got a story to tell, because the influencers will not be able to sell certain products, especially agricultural products, which goes through a lot of scrutiny. So again, you have to prepare new set of signals to measure what exactly are we going to do after influencer makes a video on Facebook or YouTube. Farmers would watch it, they put comments, but if you are very quick to measure the quick ROIs, whether how many sales happen, whether liquidations happen, whether our inventory accuracy or forecast accuracy tallied with what we have probably gone out for, that will not work. I would rather say you build a narrative, you stick to how they make videos, the kind of storytelling that they prefer, provide the right kind of information, then you start building on what indicators you want to track. Because for every industry, it will differ. Especially for SAID, it is very different. For somebody like Gavin, I think it will be completely different. You will be looking out how many people are coming, they're engaging, or they're asking the right kind of questions or inquiries, right? So I'll have they onboarded to our app or website? Are they doing some transactions? How many accounts have they been operated? So the indicators will be very different depending on the industries. So I feel it has to be used, right? It is less understood. We have created the creator economy too big by not putting it in the right place. That is what my understanding is right now. But I think it will find its place over the period of time.
No, so I think we're all sort of so you all kind of collectively agree that I guess influencer or creator economy is kind of needed, but must have the right framework, the right objective, the right KPIs in place, and depending on the appetite of your company, right, and appetite of your budget, to see what can drive your brand better. And I think that's a very important takeaway that we have today. So you must have the right notion, the right objective, right, in order to make it work. Right, but I guess when we talk about creator economy and so it also talks about the funnel, right? Because if you look at creator economy or even like say social commerce, right? Because if you look at creator, a lot of them are on TikTok today, and if you see and I touched earlier a bit about funnel, right? There's no more linear funnel, right? People can discover, consider, and purchase on the spot, right? Or not purchase, or come back, or and rediscover again. So kind of there's no more linear funnel today, right? Because things are quite convoluted today. So, and you have like TikTok shops, conversational commerce, purchase on Instagram, there's Facebook shops. So expectation is not just no more convenience. So it's no longer about online shopping for convenience. It's really about how can I get it on spot, understand, and continue shopping. Right? I think that's the expectation that customers have today. So I just want to touch this a little bit on Nikhil, because I think you mentioned earlier about how it was difficult to tie or having the right messaging online and getting your people on ground to have the same messaging when they talk to the farmers. In your case of having so many hybrid journeys, and you have different messaging platforms, right? How do you make sure the seamless messaging and the right message goes out and it's continuity, right, across all your platforms?
I think that's the most important part. So I think for seamless for us is not just reducing the number of steps, but also to create the confidence. Because it's just 3 years back, we had hired an agency to do a research about how farmers will adopt into an application. It's something, because if you will look at the rural or non-urban audience, they basically are at a 3 to 5 year trail with what is happening in the top cities. So they kind of follow the same trajectory that has already happened, but we really wanted to understand, would they adopt applications the way we do? So after the research, we really found out they need all the right information, but they're not comfortable with using applications because that takes away a lot of time. So then the seamless experience for us, the definition that we had in our mind, the assumptions were completely changed. So instead we pivoted into WhatsApp, building WhatsApp business, because it is being used widely, more than 500 million users in India itself, just in rural India. And that also supports the features they would like to know. That's a native catalog that you can build. India has over 16 official languages, and they would like to speak in those languages. The conversations has to happen in those languages. So just English or Hindi will not work. You have to really personalize it. So you have to build all your narratives into those languages while retaining your original theme, your brand, which is basically, we are headquartered at Thailand. It's a Dutch founder, but we are now speaking about going different remotest parts of India. We need to understand this message in their own language. So seamless is all about creating convenience for the customers, not just reducing, that is also important, reducing the right steps, integration across platforms is also important, but at the same time, if you're not prioritizing the convenience, forcing an app could face disaster, and that actually happened. If you see in the last 3 years, more than 32 agri-tech companies have shut down because they primarily were running on apps. Not that they had wrong messaging or not the right intent, but the investors didn't find the right indicators that they were looking for. The sales and services happen in different phases. So technology also works different for different audiences. So seamless is first understand the convenience, then build conversational commerce first for audience like us. Then you also have to ensure that these features are being told on ground, trained properly on ground to your employees and the other stakeholders involved, because these are the audience who work in communities, right? If the community don't understand or don't trust your product, it will not work. It doesn't really matter how good you are. So ultimately you have to buy trust from the micro communities that is built across. And then once you win that, then I think seamless happens automatically. So it's a byproduct of how much you understand your customers.
Nice. So I resonate a lot with you because I think Domino's, our biggest channel would be the people in store, right? So if we don't get buy-in or ensure they are with us digitally, then whatever they communicate to customer on ground, it could be very different than what we communicate on digital channels or our app, right? And I guess maybe talking about convenience. So I like what you say about convenience first, right? Then seamless will naturally come. So I just want to pass this a bit to Leonid, right? Because for you, in your industry, it's very fast-paced and seamless is very critical, right? Because in gaming, like I need that diamonds or I need that weapon right now. Otherwise, I will die and I will lose my 100 days worth of history, right? You have done amazing things on that, right? So what can other industries learn from you to make this really frictionless?
Yeah, thank you for this question. The first thing is that really game developers earn more money than all other developers, all the other apps on the mobile stores. So it's around 50 till 70% of the total revenue of all the stores worldwide. Depends on the market.
So to move to gaming.
Yeah,
I'm in the wrong industry.
Yeah, so these guys really know well about conversion rates with the revenue, I mean the purchases. So the main thing here is please make your customers or your future customers or the guy that want to purchase right here, right now, or to make a conversion rate right here, right now, the thing that he wants, she wants. Not you want like a, I don't know, like a data team or marketing team or product team. Product team can sell you, please. It's very crucial for us to see what is his position. Please type it in the like CTA button before he put the CTA button, push the CTA button. He need to email, phone number, name, in the other field, last name. Why we need the last name? Because data engineering team, we can't fill because this is a required field in our database. Because we should feel the difference between we want like a company and the users wants. We need to focus about the users because if we churn the users at the end, the last step of the funnel, when he wants to make a purchase, this is the crucial things. This is emotional purchases, and all the action on the web and the apps happens mostly with your emotional. I saw a great PDF. I want right here, right now. Don't create a lot of fields for them, because when he started filling, okay, oh, do I really need this PDF or should? Oh, it's like message. Okay, and he forgets about this one. So the main thing is all the actions happens with your emotional. Your mind and emotion, but when mind wins your emotional, you like a company lose engagement, lose new users, or lose revenue. So yeah, this is the one thing. The second thing is when you think about your funnel, like a marketer product, I don't know, C-level, you can see the steps, the drop down, for example, from one step to the second step, 70%. But at the same time, from the 5 step to the final step, I mean, where purchases happen, and only 2% decrease. And a lot of guys focus on the main things on the first step. But the crucial thing is you should focus on the last time, because the whole revenue, the most revenue happens here. You invest a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of compensation, a lot of time to put this user that wants to pay you or to, I don't know, a lot of conversion rates. So yeah, you should focus really on the things that really matters. So yeah, I guess this is 2. Don't make a user churned if he has emotional purchase or emotional, not purchase, also action he wants to do. Don't create a lot of barrier, a lot of the things that this user don't want at all. Because yeah, compare you want and the user really wants. You need to think like a user, because a lot of stuff happens on our mistakes. Because I want email because our marketing team will make a retargeting for them, or I want his full name and the stuff like this. So yeah, make less friction as you can.
No, I love when you say make the experience for the customer, not for the business, right? Because in the end, they're the one who's paying us, right? And I like when you say about making it as frictionless as possible. So I guess it goes to my next question to Shubham, right? You know, with this age of AI and automation, right? Technically, we can make it as frictionless as possible, right? So how do you feel, or what do you think, does AI and automation play in the role of making a frictionless journey today, cutting as little steps as possible to make sure the customer is still in the right emotional state when they want to purchase? And, realistically to you, right, are brands able to really understand every customer at scale, or is this just more like, science fiction today?
Okay, so firstly, you need to think like previously, whenever a person used to, come to a buying decision or whatever else, what they used to do, they used to look for advisors that who have prior experience to it. Like it can be a family member, it can be a friend, or it can be anybody else who has a lot of experience regarding that. But now what AI has become kind of like a personal advisor to you. Like before you go for a topic, or if you want to look up to something, AI can already give you relevant solutions to it that might align with your thinking process, or it can come up with, or if you are looking for a query, AI can give you an instant answer to it, which might, of course you need to clarify it, like whether the answer is actually validating your query or is not. And so I think the job of AI is actually helping you take better decision, quicker decision, and streamlining your entire process regarding in the whatever journey you're going through. And like you asked in the second question that you asked, like can you just repeat the second question?
So my question is, do you think today brands can realistically really reduce friction and personalize at scale? Because like you will deal with 23 million customers, right? Or is that just science fiction?
I think you can say like it's not easy to go on a one-on-one personalization of your customers. Like mostly what brands they do, they group customers based on you can say like they do based on their behavior, like their user behavior, like that they distinguish their customer base. But truly having one-on-one personalization can be a bit difficult to achieve. But the thing is, the data is already there. It depends upon like how the teams are actually using it to go through the entire process.
Okay, got you. I guess we're actually running out of time, but
Yes.
I guess maybe just one last question to recap. Just a quick one, right? Maybe we'll start with Gavin, right? Just a quick answer, okay? No long answer. One channel you would double down on the next 12 months.
I think it would be in-app. Yeah.
Why? Short answer.
Because it's the channel where the users has the greatest intent. They already have the intent, they have the context, and we just need in-app to convert them. That's the last action that they need to take. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Nikhil, one marketing metric you think is overrated?
I think for me, it's engagement rate at this point.
Why?
Because that doesn't really solve our problems. What we're really looking at is how much liquidations are we able to do. So if it happens with less than 10% engagement rate, I'm also fine. It's about what kind of information that you're provided and how much of that action can you see on ground after that. So for me, the engagement rate really is a miss at this point.
Okay, thanks. Leonid, one thing marketers need to unlearn and fast.
Marketers should forget marketing funnel, all the funnel perspective nowadays, because users don't go like a funnel. We write with the analyst, with all the stuff regarding funnels. Funnel is dead nowadays.
And do you agree?
I think AI search, because people already have the intent when what they're looking for. So yeah, I would go AI search.
Nice. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I think we learned a lot today. I hope you guys enjoyed this session.
A big round of applause for Salihah for moderating a wonderful session. So very quickly, only one question with a short answer, right? Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much, all of you, for sharing your time, your energy, and your expertise. I've really appreciated being here. My question directly is to Leonid, in the context of you sharing removing as much friction as possible when there is an emotional person about to make a purchase. So in that context, my question is, how do you measure your ethical responsibility when your sales or conversion strategy is based on the emotional vulnerability of a consumer?
So Emma, do I right understand your question? How we communicate with the sales team or other teams to create as minimal fields as they ask for us, right?
No.
No, sorry.
Thank you. My question is related to the recognition that there is an emotional vulnerability of a potential customer, and at that moment, as much friction as possible is removed to convert the emotionability into an action to make a conversion. So then my question is, as a corporation, how do you manage the ethical responsibility you have when a sales strategy is based on the emotional vulnerability of a customer?
Thank you, nice question. I guess we can, it's a long topic, really long topic, not for 30 seconds. Yeah, we can communicate after that, we can meet and I can answer how, because this is a long perspective, the different internal processes inside the company and the companies where I can consult. Yeah, so there is no right answer.
Thank you, I really appreciate your expression. Thank you.
Can we take a networking tea break?
This question is for Gavin Fong. So Gavin, Right Bank is positioning itself as the world's first fully AI-powered bank, which is bold and of course exciting. But trust in banking earned almost over decades and not the algorithms. So how are you ensuring that Right Bank growth is actually building customer trust and not just optimizing the acquisition?
I think trust is a process. Like we said, Right Bank is the world first AI-powered bank for payments. It's very skeptical for consumers to perceive this, like how can I get AI to make payments for me, whether it's safe. So I think a lot of education is needed. From the bank perspective, we need to make sure that the minimal education to users need to be done. But with AI in place, we also need to make sure the transparency and ensuring that whatever that the AI is trying to help to enhance the day-to-day financial activities for the users still have control. We need to clearly let them know that they still have control over what the AI can do to them. For example, let's say to make payment initially, in order to make a payment for your friends over lunch, it's like a 5-6 steps kind of process. They need to send you via WhatsApp how much to pay. With the account number, you need to go into the app to key in the account one by one. But with Right Bank, you can do a snap, and AI will help you, the OCR will help you to capture the bank account, and users still need to do the final step to confirm and approve the transaction. So with education and transparency that we are trying to show to users, that's how digital bank is here to try to make a difference in terms of how you do your daily transactions, financial activities. Yeah, it's a process, it will take time, yeah.
All right, so can we have a big round of applause for a wonderful panel discussion one, Marketing in Motion, the Omnichannel Imperative, and we are coming to the conclusion for this panel discussion. So I would request all the speakers to come forward for a group photograph together. A bit music in the background, please. So please come forward for the group photograph. So our pretty lady in the center, our moderator, Salihah, no.